Okay, so I don't know where, if I stopped off, if I recorded this or not. But I'm going to re-record it. This is the part 2 of the key points for how to cope through being targeted in the workplace or in the workforce. Because I literally started it and then for some reason it didn't. I guess it stopped recording. I don't know. So I'm going to try it again. But these are key points of things that I've learned as an individual that I wish I had applied for myself. So if you're someone who's actively being targeted or getting stalked right now as we speak, and for people that aren't as well, if you're experiencing this kind of phenomenon and you're like, how do I navigate this? I hope you can take my words, I'm gonna say with a grain of salt. I don't like saying grain of salt because it makes me think of something else entirely. So yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and just start with some now. So the first one is never quit a job unless you have another one lined up for you. So what do I mean by that? I unfortunately was stupid and I left positions that I had because I wasn't happy with either the management or my coworkers, or just things that someone said that were off-putting to me. And I, unfortunately, decided to resign from said positions without having a backup plan, like without having a job in place. Because I don't know, I was so unhappy, with the way that I was just being treated, that I was just like, I left, and I didn't think through it too much because I kind of let my ego and my emotion dictate my decision making. And I do regret that. I really do wholeheartedly regret that, because looking back now, I'm unemployed and it's hard to find a job, especially in this day and age. The job market, I feel like there's more there are more not more jobs, there are more applicants than there are jobs. So we're all competing and vying for the same, for these roles. And so, when it comes to longevity and things like that, unfortunately, people are going to go with the person who I would think has, more longevity in a role than someone like myself who kind of has shorter stints with certain roles. So which it is what it is. I lesson learned. That's why I'm doing this, to provide the key points so that you don't do what I did, even while targeted, because it really is like, it was to my detriment. Because the thing is, an employer is not going to go, oh, she, what, like they're gonna look at your resume and they don't know the story, right? They don't know what I've been through. They don't know what I've suffered through. A recruiter, unless by the grace of God, like someone who knows someone refers me to a position, they don't know, like they don't know. So it's the same thing like with banks. Like when you owe a bank, they're not going to go, oh, she was targeted and she's being poisoned and she's being like, they're not going to do that. They're just not. Banks want to get paid. Employers want strong, viable candidates that are going to show up and be present for work. And with targeting, this is something that I think I wish employers understood better. I really do. Like, I wish that they would understand the plight that we have to go through as people who are targeted. It's not the same as everyone else. Like, we get bullied on a daily basis, we get cyberbullied, we get, for me, like, I've been drugged, I've been poisoned on numerous occasions, I experience weird idiopathic aches and pains all over, but then my blood work comes back normal. So for the most part, so it's, and then the harassment, you know, the street theater, the psychological warfare, and the degradation, these are all things that all compounded together make life really hard living. So imagine trying to do a job while going through all this other extraneous stuff that wears and tears you down. Like, it's hard, but they don't care. Like, at the end of the day, a job, they want you to be present, they want you to be locked in, focused, on time, nourished. They don't need the added headache of, oh, this girl's targeted, oh, let's bring out the red carpet, let's treat her like gold, you know. Like, they're not going to do that, unfortunately. I mean, I would, if I had my own company, yeah, I'm different. Like, I would treat you like gold. Like, I don't have my own company, but that's what I would do if I was an employer. But more often than not, they're not going to do that, especially a larger corporation where you're just like a speck in the grand macrocosm of everything else. So yeah, but the number one key, never quit a job unless you have another one lined up for you. And please, I know, folks, like, if you're target, it's gonna be like, you're gonna be like, but I hate my job, I get treated like shit, and they set me up and all this stuff. Then just document it. Document it. Like, create, like keep tabs. I know that sounds horrible, but I was watching a YouTube video a few months ago where the lady's like, if people try to set you up to fail, just use your intuition. Like, that's why we have that within us. God gave us that innate ability to, to sense things. You don't have to be psychic to know that. You know, you don't have to be psychic to figure that out. You can, it comes innately within you. But yeah, never quit a job unless you have another one lined up for you. So, number 2, be genuine. I don't know why they wrote it. Don't kiss ass to get on someone's good side. Just, this is in general. Forget about target. Just be yourself. Even if you don't like, so, okay, how do I put this? If you don't like someone, if you don't like your boss, don't be overly sweet and try to win them over, because that's who they are. If they're in their 40s, if they're in their 30s, even late 20s, that's it. They're solid. That's it. You know, that's it. You can't change the people. We're in our, you know, late 20s, early 30s. Like, I don't want to say our intelligence is fixed. You know, they said, you know, fluid intelligence, fixed intelligence. You know, you have to choose. If you want to change, you have to choose that. You know, don't get someone to like you if they don't like you. You know, it does make it harder, I will say, if it's a boss or if it's a coworker and you have to meet them every day and see them every day for work. I get it. It's not fun. You know, it's not fun when, you know, because those are the people that you have to interact with on a day-to-day basis. But you don't want to ever be fake nice to people. Be who you are. If you don't like them, don't talk to them. That's another thing I want to say is that, you know, I've always, my entire life, I never wanted people to be unhappy. I wanted everyone in every setting that I was in, whether it was a job, whether it was a friend group, I always wanted everyone to be happy, right? Like, I wanted to keep the peace. And sometimes I would even agree with people that I didn't agree with, or I would try to be nice to them and be like, yeah. And I didn't want to have anything to do with them because I was nothing like them at all. I don't know. There was one job, I'm not going to mention the name of it specifically, where I would nod and smile and be like, yeah. Oh, I love that artist too. Yeah, that's so great. Yeah. Or like I would sit there and try to like laugh at the things that they laughed at. And I didn't think it was funny. But because I wanted to be accepted, I went along with it. And this doesn't have to do with gang stalking. This is just in general. Don't make them like you You know, that's kind of like Mel Robbins, the theory that she has, the let them theory. It's the same thing. If they don't like you, let them not like you. You know, let them talk shit about you. Now, I will say, if they try to disrupt your job security and they try to get you fired, that's a different story, which leads me to my next one. But don't purposely try to be on everyone's good side, because you're going to end up sacrificing your happiness. You're going to end up being miserable because of that. It's not worth it. Number 3, address issues with coworkers directly as soon as they arise. This is true, because if you sense something in your gut that feels off, like if you're a nurse, if you're on the unit, and you feel like someone is talking shit about you, like you sense it, because we all have that ability within us. We all have that, guys, girls, whatever. We have the ability to know whether someone is being, you know, genuine or disingenuous with us, or if they're talking shit, you know, about you or whatever. You can sense it. There's been so many times where, like, I remember when I was a server and I worked as a server at a restaurant, and one of the girls, she would call me Cinderella. She would call me like insinuating that I was a princess and I get diva treatment. And I was just like, and I go, excuse me? I go, what were you saying? Because you obviously, when I turned my back, you were saying it, but then when I'm here, you stopped saying it. So can you share with me what you were saying? Oh no, I was just no. Oh no. You knew that I had my back turned, so you were talking shit about me. When you call people out, because that's the thing, especially with nice people, with empaths and light workers and whatnot, people expect us to put up and shut up and not confront them about their wrongdoings or their gossip. The moment that you call a narcissist out on their gossip or their bullshit, it's like they have their tail between their legs and they're like, no, but I didn't do anything wrong. No, you did. You thought it was okay to talk shit about behind my back and make up shit and give me little nicknames. Do I give you little nicknames? No. Do I call you the tyrant bitch? No. Do I call you a low-life whore, good-for-nothing, savage bitch? No. But that's the truth. I just don't say it because I have self-respect. But there have been times where, you know, I have had issues with coworkers and I've let things slide, and then, you know, 6 months down the line, and then, you know, you have a disagreement about something and you have to work together on a project and you don't want to have anything, you know, but you could have addressed the very thing that was the point of contention, but then you didn't. So then now you're both seething and you're like, it's a scene from Wicked, you know, with the loathing, what, you know, they're both hating on each other. The moment you sense anything with anybody, any sort of animosity, please, for the love, like, don't tell the boss. Go to the coworker directly. So many conflicts can be prevented if people were brave enough and mature enough to come together and say, hey, you know, you said this about me, or maybe it's unfounded. Maybe that person didn't say that thing about you and you assume that because you're thinking the worst. So it's better to go and address that and say, hey, can I have a moment of time with you so I can talk about this with you? You know, I feel like this and this, you said this and this about me. Or I heard from, you know, Bobby McGee that, I don't say Bob, I don't know, from Sally Sue, that you said, or Jennifer said that you said this about me, or, you know, that whatever, and, you know, why did you do that, or can you elaborate on that, because I wanted to give you the opportunity, versus going to the supervisor and explaining how uncomfortable what you said made me feel. There's been times recently in jobs where I felt uncomfortable because of the way some people have acted, and I called them out and I said, hey, you know, this was a job recently I had where one of the women, and I was really surprised actually that she did that, because I looked at her, and mind you, I didn't really know her that well, but I looked at her as like, I don't know, I thought she was going to be a cool person to, bounce ideas off of and work with and collaborate with. And she mocked, without realizing it, she mocked doing, like, we were doing a role play in the class for this training session for a contact call center thing. And it was for health risk assessment for, for actual patrons of this company that you would do outbound calls to assess their health and see what you could do to help them and to get them on track and guide them to the right individuals and resources. And she was pretending that the person had everything in the book: cancer, heart disease, kidney failure, suicidal ideation, depression. And I told her after, I go, you know what, that was not, and she did it with like an accent, and I told her, that was kind of offensive. I wasn't trying to be a Karen in her life. I was just saying, like, there are people who actually have gone through those things. I've had family members who've experienced cancer. I myself get scared about getting cancer. I've had depression. I've had anxiety. Luckily, no suicidal ideation, but like, I've gone through that. And I told her it was really off-putting as like a coworker to see you do that and almost be that insensitive and like, and I told her, maybe you didn't mean that the way you did it, but it came off as kind of very like ignorant and it was insensitive. And she apologized after. She's like, I'm so sorry that I didn't, and it wasn't funny. And I tell myself that's not, and it's sad because when I first saw her, I was like, oh, she had this beautiful, like, flowy mermaid hair, and her background was very, like, ombre, like, beautiful beach setting. And I was like, I told her, I was like, I don't want to look at you as the person who mocked people, like, in different ailments and diseases. I want to see you as, like, the cool coworker with, like, the really badass background, and with the mermaid hair. That's what I told her. And, she apologized, and she said, I'm so sorry, and And it could have been, and that's the way you facilitate positive pro-social behavior and discussion, is that you can't be afraid to shy away from those situations. You have to nip them in the butt. You have to you have to address things, because if you don't, then you're going to be in the dark about things. You're going to be confused, and that's not, and maybe it's a misunderstanding, or maybe it was intentional. Maybe someone did literally have bad intentions for you to, and they wanted to pick on you. Whatever it is, do not be afraid to speak up about it, unless some person's like, I'm gonna punch you in the face, like, hopefully that doesn't happen. But address issues with coworkers directly as soon as they arrive, or arise, I will say. Another one is, you can keep a daytime 9-to-5 job while still working on your dream job. For example, this is called moonlighting. A lot of people, I feel like, are kind of fed up with like the 9-to-5 thing, because they're like, is there more to life? It's like when Belle, when she sings, there must be more than this provincial life, whatever, and it's like kind of the same thing with that. It's like, it's if you do have a 9-to-5 job, which is going back to the idea of don't quit that, you can still work on what you love to do on the side, but realize that income is, I'm trying to change my viewpoint of money, because I look at money as the root of all evil, because people kill people for money. So like, I'm trying to shift my perspective so that I attract more of that into my life versus repel it, because I'm just like, no, everyone is killing people for money and murders and whatever. It's really sad. But you can have, I think, a 9-to-5 job and do that. If it's not your ideal job, but you want to do something else on the side, then work towards that. Like I always kind of did that before growing up. Like there's certain things that I wanted to do, and I was like, let me work on my yoga thing on the side, and I get to do it on the weekends, or I volunteered at the hospital or whatever. So so don't just quit the job and be like, oh, I want to completely like, just, I mean, sometimes I will be, some people have those dreams and sometimes it does work out, where they, you get the whatever, you amount to whatever success that you were hoping for without having to do much. But for the most part, you could still keep, like I said, do a 9-to-5 job, and then you can do your other job on the side, which the term is called moonlighting. I didn't know that that's what that was. Number 5 is interview them as much as they interview you. That one I like a lot because I saw that on Pinterest, is because what I mean by that is you're trying to find the right fit for you as a person, right? You want to make sure that that company, aligns with your personal and professional goals. And I am someone that I like to ask the questions. I ask this a lot. What's your company culture like? What do you love most about working at your job? And if they kind of just give this overview, this generic, like, oh, I come into work and I get to, like, if I don't see their eyes light up when they talk about their job, like, oh, I love my job so much. Like, I get to meet so many different people, and I, help this person and that one, and it's always a different thing every day, and I'm so grateful to be there, and we have all these awesome perks. Like, we do these company get-togethers, we do these Zoom events, and like, if they don't light up, then that's my, like, I'm like, oh shit, they hate their job. It's like oh damn, they don't like what they do, and they don't like their boss. And so interview them as much as they interview you. It's so important. I was talking to someone yesterday, I wish there was like a way to try out a job. I know they have the 3-month probationary period, this 30, 60, 90 days, but like, that's like to see if you're well equipped and able to be the right fit for the role. But it's like, I wish as a candidate you can like test it out. They used to do that for child life. They used to do like site visits where you go and like you go to a unit, and like they would have you like interact with a patient and see how like you operate, in that setting, which I thought it was a good way to test things out. But yeah, interview them just as much as they interview you. Just because, like I said, you want to make sure that it's the right fit, because it might not be the right fit for you, and you don't want after, okay, so how to put this? So for a company, it costs them money, right? Especially if they have to send you equipment. If it's remote, they have to send you equipment. Or, even onboarding someone to a new role costs the hospital, costs companies money. Like, they have to get the orientation together. Some people that are trainers get paid extra money, like to train you, or a stipend, because that's like professional development, career advancement for them. So the materials as well for onboarding. So if it's a corporation, like let's say it's a hospital, they will pay for a really good, robust training. They'll have like a learning portal where you will go and you'll do the modules, and that costs money to have that platform with, coinciding with their orientation schedule. Just the very sheer act of being onboarded, that's money. So when you get hired, they're banking on the idea that you're going to be a long-term employee, you're going to create longevity, and that you're going to make a positive impact in their organization as a whole. So, but with that being said, you also want to make sure that it's the right fit for you, because that's where you're going to spend a majority of your life. And then on top of that, which goes to I'm going to segue to the next bullet point. If you are a targeted person, and if you don't know what that means, you can look that up on your own time. If you are a targeted person, you have to, it's, how do I put this? You have to be able to gauge in that initial interview process whether they're going to be the type of individuals who, if you needed that added extra support, not even, how do I say this, not even targeted. Let's say you're on maternity leave, right? Like, let's say you get pregnant and for whatever reason, let's say you're a female and you get pregnant and you're in your spouse, partner, boyfriend, whatever, that happens. There are some companies that will only give people like 2 weeks maternity leave. I kid you not 3 or 4, 2 weeks. And that is astounding, because a baby, that those first 3 months are critical for like mother baby bonding and like breastfeeding and just swaddling and creating trust between the mom and the baby, right? So let's say down the line you're someone, maybe there's someone watching this that maybe someone is planning on, getting married or whatever and having a child down the line, and you're planning that, but you're gauging whether or not they're the kind of company culture or office culture that condones or supports mothers who are, or women who, or even fathers. Paternity leave is also important. Like, you want to see how these companies care about, like, do they care about their employees? Do they offer those resources, like, maternity leave support, mental health support? Are they going to say, yes, take the time you need? Or if you feel sick, right, take the time you need off to whatever. Or if you lose a loved one, right, God forbid a pet or anything, are they going to be the type like, okay, you grieved, thank you so much, okay, come back to work now? Or are they going to say, take the time you need? That is that is built into the work culture, and you can only figure that out in the interview. And I've learned that along the way, and that's why I'm like, let me feel out the people who interview me, and don't just take a job to just take it. Like, I've done that before in the past, where I go, oh, I'm just gonna take the job because I don't have a job right now, and I ended up leaving a job recently because it wasn't the right fit for me. And also, I was going, the most recent one I was going through a lot of shit here that I didn't feel with my safety and everything. So that's why I say interview them as much as they interview you, because you're going to get a good idea of, like, ask the HR recruiter, what are the benefits like? What do you guys do? Are there incentives? If I wanted to relocate, what does that look like? Do you have tuition reimbursement? Like, because this is all going to be, it's kind of like, think about your job as like almost its own little entity, its own little city, right? Where you have to advocate for you, because HR recruiter for XYZ whatever is not going to, they're just there to fill the role. They're there to fill the requisition or the requisite, right? And so they're going by your skill set, they're going by maybe your references. They're probably going to Google you, and see what you're up to. So make sure that you don't have anything too questionable. I've Googled myself. I don't think I've seen. Hey, Bonnie. Bonnie. It's okay. Sorry. I don't know if that was some random guy just like opened the door. So I don't know what that was. So basically, let me open the window a little bit. Sorry about that. Some dude just opened the door. The requisite, they're trying to fill a requisite, right? So I would be mindful that you have to be your own advocate, and you have to scout out those, those opportunities, and you have to see if that's going to be the right fit for you. And you have to take that time with those recruiters to ask those questions. I know, baby, you were being a good guard dog. You were being a good guard dog. So yeah, I think it's important to really vet the company that you want to work for. So that leads me to the next thing, which is I put some coworkers may conspire together to get you fired, stage things, start rumors. Some people may actually get paid off as a perp to provoke you and use specific memes or giffies in a chat that only you would understand. Smear campaigns. This has happened to me so many times, and this has been the point of contention and the reason why I left certain roles, because I felt like I was being the stuff that I was seeing sometimes, like on my phone with in respect to YouTube and the hacking, literally the same people would mention that in the jobs, and I was like, why are they mentioning the same stuff that shows up on my YouTube feed in a job, like in my job? So that kind of told me that, like, oh, they have perps and they have gang stalkers in the different roles that I have, and that was frustrating too. Yeah. And that's number 6. That's an unfortunate one. Because the reality of it is, and I'm not trying to like make people sad or depressed or whatever. This is the truth. People will start smear campaigns, and they will start rumors about you, and they will try to provoke you in your job because they're getting paid to do that. Because that's their role as a gang stalker or perp. They literally are being paid to do that. It's unfortunate. I don't wish that upon anybody. And the only way, how do you navigate that? The same thing like I said before, if you suspect someone provoking you or bothering you, don't be afraid to call them out on it. I mean, do it directly, like a message to them, but like sometimes the whole group will be in on it, and this has happened to me as well, which is frustrating because you're like, this is my job, these are but remember though that sometimes you won't be in, if it's kind of like where it's a role where you're independent and you're on your own, then remember you don't have to deal with that. Like you'd only have to deal with it if you're working in a team setting. And sometimes, like when you have a certain cohort in a training class, they have you migrate from the training class to being live with that group because that's what you're familiar with. So there's a strategy behind that. But they may use people to try to provoke you. It's unfortunate, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. It's that's how that works. So yeah, but I'm sure that there's more key points. I mean, those are the 6 that I came up with. Just from personal experience, the top of my head, how have I survived it? I mean, I will say that develop thick skin. Develop thick skin and try not to take things personally. Meaning, like, you can't make everyone happy. These people, one thing my father did teach me is, spaghetti and meatballs, Some people it'll be okay to, take that next step of being maybe becoming friends with someone at work. But the thing is that kind of can cross some boundaries and stuff, but you don't want to take things personally. Thank you, baby. Thank you for those kisses. I appreciate it. Because when you do that, then you're going to get really annoyed and perturbed. And I say develop thick skin and strength of spine, because if you take things personally, then you're never going to be happy, you know. And when it's time to log off from work, log off. Like, I've learned, like, and remember, gang stalkers, their whole MO, their motive is to provoke you. Their motive is to get you to quit. Their motive is to force you to quit, to treat you so horribly and bully you so much in a job, passive aggressively, whether directly or indirectly, that you eventually bow out and you're like, I can't. And this has happened to me because I've let the people win. I've let the people win. Because look, I'm not there. I lost out on jobs that I got $60-something thousand salary in the mental health sector and fields that I loved, because I let some girl who was wearing a bright yellow shirt, who was posing kind of the same as me, in the same position, you know, like, bother me. But I'm also a really nice person, so, like, you know, and I'm non-confrontational. Thank you. You're such a good guard dog. You're such a good guard dog. So, yeah. Just be mindful of that. Because the thicker your skin is, the less things are going to affect you. It's just the way that goes. Hi. Are you okay? Do you feel okay? What is it, lady? I don't know what she's saying. So I think she's a little, like, spooked about the guy who all of a sudden, I don't know what that was. I thought it was my dad or my mom. And all of a sudden it was some random person. I know, that was weird. That was weird. So yeah, develop thick skin. Try not to take things too personally. Address them directly as soon as they happen. And then also to, you know, document things. I will say that. Unfortunately, because if you're targeted, hi, what? Unfortunately, if you're targeted, working is going to be different for you. Just like it's different for me. Meaning, like, you have to be on the lookout for things. You know, I've screenshotted things before, and I have a folder on my computer that says weird stuff, and I'll just, like, plop it in there. You know, if it's something, I don't know why. No, why is this? No, I canceled my thing. Why are it? Oh, they better not. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I got an email about therapy, so I was like, I canceled that. I can't afford that right now. So, yeah. So, what else did I want to say? Yeah, document things. Document, like, if you see something fun, like strange, document it. If you think that it has to do with targeting and gang stalking, document it. Because that'll be your proof, you know. Because here's the thing, if you do have people actively, what? If you have people actively trying to get you fired and you don't have any proof, then it's their word against yours. So then now you have to explain to a boss and say, oh, but this body, stop. My armpit, stop. You know, you have to deal with that, and that's going to be a little bit harder to navigate if you don't have any proof to back it up. So I really haven't had to document too much. I mean, it's hard to, like, because the thing is, how are you going to document and take a screenshot of, like, a meme and be like, oh, boss person, this person was using this meme and this Giphy on me, and it bothered me, and it was unsettling to me. They don't care. They're not going to care. So I'm just telling you, but if it's something to the point where someone tries to fire you, then yeah. So I'll repeat them really quickly. Number 1, never quit a job unless you have another one lined up for you. Number 2, be genuine. Don't kiss ass to get on someone's good side. Like, be real. Don't be fake nice. People can smell that from a mile away, and it's really disgusting and nauseating. People do that. Number 3, address issues with coworkers directly as soon as they arise. Number 4, you can keep a daytime job, a 9-to-5 job, while still working on your dream job. Because oftentimes, what I have noticed is that people who do get gang stalked, unfortunately, they get ousted from their job that they love. There's another target individual, her name's Lisa Legg, and I don't know if that's her real last name, but she, her thing is, I think, stalked by the freaks or something like that, and she basically, she documents everything, and she now does Uber, and she does Uber driving and stuff like that. A lot of people do gig work. They do Amazon and stuff like that, because that's what, and then they eventually move out of their house, or they end up having to live in an RV or in a hotel or a motel, and that's usually the trajectory of how a target individual, that's the road that they go down. It's really unfortunate, and how isolated and ostracized we get, but yeah, so I highly advise, don't quit your job, like I said, unless you have another one lined up, but you can still do, if it's not your dream job, but you could still do that and do whatever you want that brings you joy and passion on the side, or maybe you can volunteer as well. Number 5, interview them as much as they interview you, because don't forget, you're at your job more often than you are with your actual family. And then number 6, some coworkers, they may conspire to get you fired, stage things, start rumors. Some people may actually get paid off as a perk to provoke you, and use specific memes or giffies in a chat that only you would understand, or do smear campaigns. And like I said before, you want to kind of gauge and garner whether a certain organization would be privy to supporting you. If you had all these things happening to you, would they say, oh, if you needed a day off or whatever, just to recuperate, are they going to be yeah, take your time, you have PTO? Or is it going to be no, we need you here? You can gauge that in an interview with somebody. Number 7, develop thick skin and try not to take things personally. Number 8, document things as well. If you notice anything out of the ordinary, if you feel like someone's trying to set you up to get fired or force you to quit, take note of that. And then the other one I wanted to mention is try to get in a position to be your own boss. If I'm being honest, I think in my opinion, what do I mean by this? I'm trying to find the right words. In my opinion, if you are in a position to be your own boss, right? You don't have to respond to anybody. And I'm sure if you're an entrepreneur out there, the Mark Cubans of the world, the very wealthy elite that hopefully aren't jerks and assholes, that give back to their community, that, are wealthy but care about the everyday common folk like ourselves. If you have the ability to get in a position where you can own your own business, whatever that is, whether it's, and that's what I mean by the 9-to-5 thing, and doing what you love on the side, get yourself in a position where you can be your own boss, where you call the shots, where you run the show. There's a lot of 1099 positions out there. There was recently, I'm not doing it because I don't have the funds to be able to pay quarterly or annually for a membership fee, but there's Fora travel advising. There's you can be a grade scorer for Pearson test taking. There is, I'm just trying to think of the top of my head. There's TEFL. You can get certified to do TEFL. There are gig apps. There's Uber, there's Spark Driver, there's Viho. Is it Viho? There's a thing where you can drive kids around. For the parents, they request a ride for their child to be taken to school, a personal chauffeur, but for kids. And you have to get background checked, fingerprinted, and all that stuff. Maybe create your own micro school. I don't have the space to do that. I don't have the licensing or credentials to be like, I can work in a daycare and early childhood education, but I can't run and facilitate a micro school. In this day and age with content creation, there's so much you can do. There's also affiliate marketing. I've heard of Shopify. There's Etsy. If you're talented, like with making things, you can do jewelry making. But granted, or like DIY, you can make soaps. I don't know, candles. It will be hard to market yourself, but there's something called Glen Coco. I've heard of Glen Coco. It's like a sales role, so it's instead of like you being a salaried employee, you're your own boss, but then they employ you, they contract you essentially. So there's that. I've heard of something called Arise. I've heard of something called Working Solutions. There's a lot of different things, so. But I'm gonna write that, to get yourself in a position to be your own boss. And that's going to take time to create your own business. Like, and I don't mean, don't go the route of doing SEX work. I'm not going to get too much into that, but it's, I mean, you do you. I'm not going to, however people want to earn their money, as long as you're doing it legally and you're not scamming people or hurting people in the process, that is all I care about. To each his own. Not my, I'm gonna say I tried. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna get into that, because if a future employer tries to see this and they're like, no. I'm a good girl. I just was unfortunately dealt a hand of cards that I did not know how to, I just, navigating things have been a little bit more difficult and challenging. So, anything else that I want to share? And I would be happy to hear like what other people, how are you like, are you, some people I will say, disability, to get on disability. Now that one's a little bit more, I don't know. I tried to get on disability, but to prove, PTSD and all that, what they did ask me, I think it was through Atticus, they said, do you plan on working within the next year? And I said, yes, because I answer honestly. Like, I was like, yeah, I do want to work. They're like, okay, then you would disqualify for disability. And they're like, that's only if you plan on, like, you won't be able to work. And little did I know it would take a year for me. And I do have PTSD. Like, I think that eventually goes away. Don't quote me on it. And I'm working through those triggers. I like actively try to expose myself to some things so that I don't, get too overwhelmed by that kind of stuff. Just because the only way to overcome it is that if you progressively and incrementally expose yourself to it, because that's gonna essentially desensitize you to the very thing that you fear. So, yes. So, but if all else fails and you can't, it's hard to find a job, there are vocational centers. I think there's something called ADECO that you can go. There's temp agencies, human resource departments, social welfare community groups. Or maybe you start out volunteering somewhere and you never know. I remember when I volunteered at my local pediatric children's hospital, I ended up growing within the healthcare system just because I spent like 4 years. I knew that hospital like the back of my hand, so you never know, you never know what could come up from, volunteering or networking. Build your network up. I will say that one thing I have learned is that you want to also be proactive, like when it comes to employment. And if it's hard for you to get a job because you're like, I'm being targeted and no one wants to hire me, first of all, I will say this: shift your thinking, because the narrative we tell ourselves on a day-to-day basis, that ticker tape that runs across our forehead, you can't see it, but like, the running narrative that you have in your mind, that is going to dictate not only your perspective, but your actions and behaviors. right? Like when I said that when I feel down and out and I'm like, oh, I can't go on anymore, like this is just so insurmountable and feels like impossible. I listened to the Kendrick Lamar song, the whacked out murals, because I'm like, you can feel him like in the recording studio, like with the angst of like, fuck it, excuse my language, like you can feel the like, don't let people fuck with you, like don't let life get you down. Like right now, like I ate a pizza earlier, right, and I didn't feel too good after. Like I ate the pizza, it tasted great, but now I don't feel too great. I feel and I get scared. I'm like, what if there's aluminum in it? What if there's cyanide pieces or traces of stuff? I'm not kidding. I kid you not. And I know that sounds crazy, but I really do sincerely, like, I get nervous about that. And I can't do anything about that. But what I do is I say, I'm an instrument of God, and God fills me. I'm happy, I'm whole, and I'm enough. And I will attune myself to the frequency of that which I desire. So I will focus on what it is I want to manifest. If it's good health, then I'm going to psych myself and go, my body is whole, I'm okay, God's got me, and I'm going to push forward as best as I can. And I could be having poison or some shit in my body that I know nothing about. Possibly, I don't know. It's scary because I'm like, that's terrifying to know that I could be ingesting food or cookies or whatever that could be affecting my body adversely. But at the same time, I tell myself, you know what? Thy will be done, and I will march forward with my head held high, and I will focus on the things that bring me joy. And when I'm scared, you just dig your heels in and you say, I can do hard things. That's what I tell myself. I can do hard things. It's terrifying to know that someone may deliberately be trying to stop my heart and stop my life and take my life for that matter, but I am hopeful. I'm a hopeful optimist. And in the words of, what is it, Kendrick Lamar, what does he say? Yeah, I don't want to say Nigga, but he uses that word in the thing. He says, going up your rank, know you a God even when you say you ain't. Yeah, keep your feelings out the way, never let no one put smut up on your name. Yeah, keep your head down and work like I do, but understand everybody ain't gonna like you. And that lyric really hit close to home, because when I heard that, I was like, I wanted everyone in my life, even co-workers, bosses, to like me, just because I wanted to do a good job, and I wanted to be perceived in a good light. Not to get accolades, not to get admiration, just because I like to keep the peace. Focus on you. Do a good job, and the people that will be by your side will recognize you, and the ones that don't won't. It's like what Dr. Seuss says, those who matter don't mind, and those who mind your business don't matter. So, hope that helps somebody. I'm not a guru. I don't claim to know it all. I'm not a prophet. I'm not in any of that stuff. All I know is that I've always been very keen on trying to help other people get through hard times, and because I myself, it's been hard. The past few months have been very hard, and yeah. I just, I want to eventually, hopefully, feel safe, and that's gonna come with time. So, and I have to give grace and forgive people for what they do, even though there's people that are legit murderers and kill people for what, I forget that sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, people are so crazy. And, but I remind myself that I'm not like that, and that's what matters. And hopefully you won't be like that either. No matter what people say or do, please, for the love of God, do not stoop to their level. Murder is people do that. That's a real thing. People kill people for money, and then they cover it up and they lie about it. It happens every day. Try to be the change, be the outlier, be that person where it says, not today, Satan, or for any other day for that matter. And when it comes to matters such as these, like, because it is kind of, there are legalities involved with targeting and stuff, and I'm sure the people responsible for it do not want to ever be held accountable, because then they would have to go before a court or test up and be like, oh yeah, I fucked up her life, that's my fault, you know, and they don't want to do that. There's a reason why people put hits out on people, so that they don't live, right? So I'm hoping that, I don't know, I have a miracle. That would be nice. And until then, I'm just gonna listen to a shit ton of, you know, Kendrick Lamar's thing over and over again, or salsa music, or, you know, Bruno Mars music, or things that make me happy and uplift me, and just, you know, that's it. That's all you can do, right? Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And but don't quit your job. don't ever do what I did. Do not do what I did. Do not quit your job unless you have another job lined up for you, because no amount of pride or ego, like, oh, I have the money and I could, no. Unless you're like a self-made, let's say you're a millionaire, gazillionaire, bajillionaire, then sure, you do you, boo-boo. Like, if you have a gajillion dollars in the bank account somewhere, whatever, then you do you. Then, but if you are like the everyday average person and you cannot afford to quit a job, don't do that. And plus, wait, I forgot one. It was going to be about forge bridges. Don't burn bridges. No, how do I should phrase it? Forge bridges, don't burn them. Because what's happened is, again, I had a lot of pride and ego at a job that I recently had. Not the one that the recent, there was one before that. Because I don't count the one where I was just doing training. There was one before that I worked for a youth sports recruiting company. And looking back, I go, you know what? I think they did have good intentions for me, but because my ego was so focused on like things going wrong versus focusing on what's going right, I was gonna give 2 weeks notice. Also give 2 weeks notice. Don't ever, unless you're training, make sure that if you do end up leaving a job, you give them 2 weeks notice. Don't be prideful or arrogant. Don't do what I did and be like, oh, I'm gonna sting them like a honeybee, you know, because then that's being just as bad as other people. You don't want to be like other people. You want to be the change that you wish to see in the world. So don't stoop low, you know, because I left the job and I was like, I don't want to do my 2 weeks notice. I'm gonna sting them in the thing and they're never gonna see it coming, bitch. And then guess what? Then you're remembered as the girl who, you know, that stooped low when she could have gone high. She stooped low. You don't want to do that. Because I'm not a leader, but like, you don't do that. You know, you do the right thing. Doing the right thing is hard, and you often walk the path alone. But at the same time, you get an immense amount of grace. And yeah, so I'm gonna leave it at that, and give 2 weeks notice if need to leave. Don't just like leave haphazardly, because then that looks really bad. So you want to if need to leave, because I'm gonna type these out. Forge bridges. Because you don't know, you know, after you leave that job, if you don't know how people talk in different circles and they're like, oh yeah, she worked for me and she was whatever, you want to be remembered and go, oh wow, she was there for a short amount of time in that role, but she was present, she was on time, she was locked in, she was focused. Because there's certain things, like even there's things that I've written down myself from other jobs, like different quotes and things. Like one guy said, focus on what you can control. That stuck with me, and I left that job, but it stuck with me. So there's things that are memorable. Just like you remember things about other people, they remember things about you. So you want to be mindful of that. So forge bridges, don't burn them. Forge bridges, don't burn them. Because ultimately you want to be remembered by that company as being like, you know, a hard worker, diligent, you know, so yeah, I hope that helps. But it, you know, just speaking from the heart, navigating targeting and stuff is really, it is hard, especially in the workplace, you know. I mean, if they were able to, unfortunately, even in therapy that I've had in the past, if they were able to like infiltrate that, then of course they're more than likely to be able to infiltrate a job. And just pay no mind to it, you know. Try your best to pay no mind to it. If you see of someone who you think is a perp in a job and they were sent there to provoke you, just be above it, you know. Rise above it. Rise above the contempt. Rise above, you know. And it's some days it's easier than others, and to be strong all the time is hard. Like it is very hard sometimes just to be strong every single day, to show up and be like, I'm gonna choose happiness, I'm gonna choose joy, I'm gonna choose vitality. When you feel like, right now I feel like I don't have any, like my throat, I feel like I have a lump in my throat, I feel like someone has like a chokehold over my throat, I don't know how to explain it. My body feels very like right now, especially after I eat certain foods, and not weak, just like I feel like as if I ate something poisonous. Not just, that's just what I'm gonna say. But you know, you push through and you persevere and you carry on the best way that you can, and you know, that's it. So yeah. But that's it for now. And thank you so much for listening. I hope my words help somebody. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I was a child life specialist for a certain period of time. I did work with different populations in that respect, with pediatrics and siblings and parents and things like that. And I have taught kids yoga, and yoga to adults as well, and teenagers. But I don't claim to be an expert, you know, on things. I try to provide peer support, because I don't want people going, oh, there was this girl and she was saying this and no. You come to everyone's life is different. You come to your own conclusions about things. You know, I can only provide as much insight as I can into certain situations, but this is, I think, a good framework to go off of. Or guideline, not a framework, just guidelines. And ultimately, the last thing I want to leave you with is this, is no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And I have my little wall of inspiration over here. I had this before. I think I probably showed this before when I was in the other. Oh God, my sock! No. I have this over here. So I wrote here on my little wall of inspiration. I have my little cards. Not cards. I decorated the wall with like little inspirational things. And this one says, betrayal hurts and it doesn't justify the pain, but don't react. Stay calm, listen, shield and protect yourself, and let the haters wash away. Don't feed into their game. They seek to provoke you, to get a rise out of you. Not everyone is mean or out to get you. Some are just testing you. Regardless, don't let them steal your light. Your will and might is stronger than hate or spite. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand you. So the reason why I created this little inspiration wall with these are just little papers that I think I cut up. I don't remember what I did. A notepad paper. And I wrote these things down because I told myself, I was like, you will get betrayed. People will screw you over. And it's life, you know, because people don't know how to cope with their emotions. They have really poor self-regulation skills. Maybe they weren't taught coping skills, or how to be polite and behave well in public, because that all starts within the family, right? Your parents are the ones who raise you and rear you and teach you how to function and operate in society. So, you know, maybe some people didn't have that growing up, so they don't know how to relate to other individuals, and they fly by the seat of their pants, and they don't think through their words, and they say harmful or hurtful things. And yeah, sometimes people, you know, get in positions of leadership that shouldn't be in leadership, like at certain organizations, and, you know, you know, like in hospitals or, you know, restaurants or even religious institutions, whatever. Like, that's life. And you have to roll with it. And, you know, if you don't like the way things are being done, then one thing I will say about America is that we have freedom of speech. We have these civil rights and freedoms that were allowed and allotted that grant us the ability to, you know, go to our city commissioner, or if you want, you know, if you're someone that wants to run for, how many people run for Congress, or they run to be city commissioner or whatever, mayor, whatever, you know, governor. If you don't see change happening, you can do something about it. But when it comes down to your place of work, you know, if you notice these discrepancies or incongruencies in your organization, you know, you can always join, you know, unions, you can join coalitions, you can get actively involved and start a discussion, or, you know, a support group, or, you know, there's so many different things and avenues. But you know, targeting is hard, and proving it is even harder. But that's why it's good to, you know, reach out to people on certain outlets and try to garner support in some way, because the best form of support is also from the people experiencing it directly themselves. You can try to talk to your blue in the face and tell someone who's not being targeted or gang stalked, oh, I'm going through this. They're not going to believe you unless it starts happening to them. I promise you. They're not going to believe you. So, you know, like I said, betrayal hurts. You have to dig your heels in and do what you can to, you know, overcome it the best way that you can. And, you know, I will say this, the more that you talk about something, the more credence you give to it, the more life you give to it. So if you don't want to see something manifest directly in your life, try to speak what you do want to come into your life. I'm not saying to ignore it and be like, oh, it's not gonna bother me, because it will happen, but you'll be better able to handle it if you are able to speak faith into your future. Because majority of what we tell ourselves in our mind, that literally has a direct impact on our reality and our actions and our behaviors. So be a source of hope for people. Be the change you wish to see in the world. And you make it I'm not trying to be like a Debbie Downer, but like you know, you may get ridiculed, you may get targeted for that, unfortunately, you know. So, you know, you do the best that you can with what you've got, you know. It's scary, it's very scary, especially when you feel like you have no control over what people say or do in your life, you know. But at the same time, I tell myself, you know, I can do hard things, and this too shall pass. And any ill will or any weapon formed against me won't prosper. Any lie, any rumor, any defamation of character, slander won't prosper. You know, you need proof for that. And if people try to corroborate fake evidence and proof, because, you know, with AI these days, that's another thing. Be very mindful with AI. People can create little images and videos of things and use your voice. So be mindful of that. In the workplace, I don't really think that's, I don't know. I mean, maybe someone can try to do that to frame you or something, but I just tell myself, remember, you can do hard things, and not everyone is horrible or out to get you. Just a few sometimes. But those people could be very powerful. So just, you know, pick and choose your battles wisely. Sometimes it's not worth, you know, it's not worth losing your life over. You know, gang stalking itself is not worth losing your life over. And there will come a point, hopefully, where I will stop talking about it. I'm just bringing awareness to it, just because if something were to happen to me, I say this because I don't want people to go, oh, she took her life, or, you know, she couldn't cope anymore. That's not true. I have so much zest and zeal for life. There's so much I want to do. So if something ever were to happen, or if I croaked, or if I fainted, or whatever, it's because someone else probably did that to me. And I don't have any underlying medical conditions that are like debilitating, not that I know of. So, you know, and I want to live a happy, healthy, prosperous life. I don't want to be poisoned. I don't want to be drugged. Who wants to, you know? Who wants to go through that? So, I hope, again, that helps somebody. And if you're like me, maybe this having a little like inspiration wall, maybe put the things that, you know, don't ruin the wall though, you know, but maybe something like that could help you, you know, keep a journal. I've been slacking on my gratitude journal a bit, and try to think positively, you know, like if you feel like there's no hope and you feel like there's no jobs, there's still jobs. There's always going to be a job out there somewhere. And you're going to be the right fit for the right company and the right organization who's going to say, you know what, I like her, I want to take a chance on her because she doesn't give up, and she's the kind of individual we need on our team. They'll see that. There are people, I guarantee you, who will notice that, and they will help you achieve your goals and achieve your dreams. And but first it starts with you. If you don't believe it in yourself, then how can anyone else? It's almost like that quote when people say, if you don't love yourself, then you can't love anyone else. It's the truth. If you don't love yourself, if you don't take care of yourself, it's like if you don't put your mask on first, like when you're in the airplane, then you won't be able to help someone else. So figure out a way to help yourself. Know that you're not alone, because I too am going through it. I can't reach out in the screen and try to help you. We all have to help ourselves, and realize and recognize there are social workers, there are therapists, there are psychologists and psychiatrists who understand the phenomenon of this whole experience, and they will not shun you, they will not judge you. I think I will be honest, I do sense intuitively it's a lot more involved than what people think it is. I think there's a lot more moving pieces than what people construe targeting to be, and there's some things that are not within our scope. And if there's certain people within our government, lawmakers and politicians, if they turn a blind eye to it, then that's going to be on them. You know, that's their conscience. If they want to be the kind of individuals who want to be an inspiration for people, and they want to work for the general welfare of the, you know, American public, then they will do that. If they don't want to do that, then they won't. And if you want to do that, then go run for, I'm not going to ever do this, but I would never in a million years run for any sort of office or anything like that. But, you know, if you feel compelled to, and you have that experience, and you're in law, or you study political science, then you know what, go, you know, do what you can. Change the game, change the narrative, you know? So, but just recognize that when you fight against something as big as what this whole phenomena is, just realize that what you're going up against, because this has been something that I think is an age-old institution. Like, this has been around for years, and the people facilitating it, it's tried and true, and it works. And I'm proof that, like, it does. Because, like, look, I have basically, like, no money to my name. I've had to move around several times. I've lost friendships over this, and I've almost nearly lost my life. So it works. This, whatever this is, this whole thing, it works, you know. It's fail-proof, essentially. And it takes more than one person to facilitate it. And please disregard there's a garbage truck outside. So that's why you're hearing a lot of them. So, and it's not going to be easy, folks. Change does not come right away. It takes time. And, but human rights, they matter. Civil rights matter. And, hopefully one day we can live in a world. It's kind of like that song by Stevie Wonder, Someday at Christmas, men won't be boys playing with bombs like kids play with toys. Someday, the world will see something, you know, someday all our dreams will come to be, da, 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 da. And what I mean by that is like, one day, hopefully people will take gang stalking and stuff seriously, because it really is a horrible thing. People lose their lives, people lose their homes, people end up sleeping in cars, they end up becoming homeless, they lose their jobs just because it's so psychologically, you know, it's such psychological turmoil. Because you have the whole community, you have your people in your job get in on it, you have some people, sometimes your family gets in on it. And that's really hard. Imagine the people that you love the most in this world, you know, hear lies about you, or people try to target you, and then it's horrible. It really is horrible. So you just have to pray for better days. You have to remind yourself to be the change that you wish to see in the world, and know that and I believe this, although I can't see God, I don't know what God looks like, I don't know what angels look like, I feel that presence, and I feel that that energy, and I don't need to see something to believe it. Faith is seeing the staircase, even though, like, there's that quote, when you can't see the first step of the staircase or something like that. Faith is believing without seeing. And it reminds me, I've said it before, in that movie, you know, A Walk to Remember, where Landon says, you know, Jamie was like the wind. You couldn't see her, but you can feel her. It was a really beautiful movie. It's kind of sad though, because she has cancer or whatever, and leukemia, and then they fall in love, and then she ends up passing away. But anyways, on a more happy note, not a somber note, just, you know, and also I want to mention, if you're someone that's not currently being targeted and you don't know about this phenomenon, and let's say you're a lawyer, or let's say you're a doctor, or whatever, a caseworker, social worker, the targeted community needs support more than ever. We don't need another person discrediting us. We don't need another person making up lies and trying to gaslight us. We have enough of that in the community and maybe within our own families, and it really sucks. It really, really sucks, because you feel like you're in a silo, you feel like you're alone in it, and that's the last thing. We need people who are gonna be like, we get you, we're gonna help you. That's what we need. So, because it really, like, and if someone sits there and they go, well, how does, like, that doesn't make sense. You must be weak-minded if, like, you're letting all this, like, shit get to you. You know what I mean? Like, you must have, like, a weak mind, and that's your fault, because, like, you need to have thicker skin. There's a lot more to it. I'm only just skimming the surface. There's a PDF that I found from, I don't know if it was United Nations or if it was some other coalition that was like for human rights, or I don't know if it was UNICEF or something, but basically it was talking about all the ways that people facilitate gang stalking. There's electronic harassment, there's break-ins to your, you know, apartment, there's and what do I mean by electronic harassment? I don't know if I'm gonna get into this now, but since I already am, it's like noise campaigns. People honk horns, they will do sirens, they will do stuff like that to create negative disturbance in your life. They will have people purposely pass by you with certain shirts or things like that. That's not electronic harassment, but there's also this idea that they say they're called energy weapons, and they'll like hurt you with, like, I don't know how it works. I don't know. That part I don't know, the science behind it, but a lot of targeted people say that, like, there are like laser beam. I don't know how it works. I don't work at NASA. I don't know science, you know. If I did, I could speak to it better, but the targeted people who are like really into it, like tinfoil hat into it kind of thing, I'm not making fun of it, I'm just saying, like, they say that, like, you need to, like, live in, like there's a thing called a Faraday bag, and there was a guy who was a computer guy in Miami who told me about that, and it, like, blocks signals or whatever, And but apparently it could like really hurt your body, and it could hurt your heart and like stop your heart and like cause you to feel really weak all over. And I've wondered too if my throat, because I often, like, my throat will feel weird sometimes, and I feel like someone's doing something to my throat. But that's also something that people use. I'm trying to think what else. There's, it's the noise harassment, electronic harassment, obviously poisonings and stuff. That's the really shitty part. That scares me so much, is being poisoned and drugged. Because you don't know what you're ingesting, you know, and I get scared for Bonnie's food too, you know, so, yeah, there's a lot more to it. You can Google it on your own time, but my point is that if you are someone who's not going through it, please do not chastise the community that is. I know it sounds cuckoo. Trust me, I get it. It sounds so cuckoo. You say, why would people do this to people? Why do murderers murder people? Why do rapists rape people? Why do philanderers and cheaters cheat on their spouses? Why do people steal money? Why do people traffic people? It's the same thing, you know. I don't claim to know the answers of all of that, or if there's like a bounty or price tag on people who kick the bucket. I don't know. But all I know is that we need people to support people going through this, because it's really hard, and it's because people are supposed to treat people kindly. You're not supposed to be mean like that, and to adults no less. I can understand if we were kids in middle school, but we're not. You're adults, you know. Like, it's silly to me at this point for people that do that to other people. So please be one of the people that helps give hope to other people, not someone who contributes to the chaos. There's already enough chaos that goes on as it is in the world. We need people who are good social workers, good therapists, good psychologists, good doctors, because either we're looked at as freaks, as like case studies sometimes, I think, or sometimes we literally get targets on our back because people are like, oh, you're chosen, or like you're a conduit for good. Or sometimes people have inheritances, sometimes people have trust funds, or things like that are lined up for them, and people try to steal it, or people put like insurance policies out on people. Like, I'm not kidding, I've heard of that, where people actually, like, they get a crooked insurance agent, and then they try to cap out on like life insurance or something, and they say that they're in a fraudulent marriage, or like they try to say that they're married but they're not married to that person, and then they act as the beneficiary, and they do a forged signature, and then the person croaks. And I've heard of that with targeting, which is scary. So just be mindful of that. But in relation to the workplace and employment, just remember what I said, and don't ever quit a job unless you have another one lined up. And people will talk shit about you. They will make your life hell. So, document when you can, but also just do your job, show up, that's what I was gonna say. If you show up and you do your job and you're present and you're locked in. Now, it's harder when if like me, I've been to the point where I've literally been drugged, and I think I've been zapped or fried like a French fry and poisoned. It's very hard to lock in and be focused and present, but I'm gonna do my best that I can. But document things when appropriate, and don't react, and that's what I was gonna say. Don't give them a reason. Don't give them a reason to criticize you. So, because if you show up, if you meet your metrics, if you're doing your job and you're not kissing ass, you're being yourself, no one can touch you. Realize that. If you show up to your job and you do what you need to do, and you're actively present, you get there on time, nobody can touch you. Nobody. No one. But if you're lazy, if you show up late, if you don't give your, and I get it, like I said before, like, I'm someone who literally, like, I kid you not, like, it's been hard in the last role that I had, I got hired at a healthcare company based out of Texas, and I was very excited and I was very hopeful. But because of all this other weird stuff, if you've seen my other videos, and I've been saying, oh, I'm scared about being drugged and poisoned and all this stuff, it was really hard to focus. I mean, I wasn't getting proper nourishment. I still look very skinny. Like I wasn't eating because I was scared, essentially, you know. Because the food, I had a weird scare with a DoorDash order, and then some other food that I had delivered from like Walmart and stuff that the guy brought over, like the carton of heavy cream. I think someone tampered with that. My water bottles, and it's scary. So I unfortunately had stopped eating. Like I was so petrified to eat, so I lost a lot of weight, and I was very weak and very frail. And then I also again got drugged, and because I took a test and it came back like positive for like these different things that I don't know about. So it was scary. And I wish people would take that seriously. So I get it. If you're like, oh, it's not that easy to focus at a job, trust me, I completely 100% get it. So but I am hopeful, and I have gained some weight. If you have been following my journey, I have gained some weight. And no, I'm not anorexic. I love to eat. I'm a big yelper. If I could eat like, I'm not kidding, I eat like nonstop. Like I'll eat pizza, then I'll eat eggs, and then I'll eat cereal, and then I'll eat this and that, and because I'm just hungry, you know. So yeah. But thoughts and prayers would be appreciated either way. And I'm hoping that I can move forward with my life, and I'm hoping that I can find safety and refuge somewhere. I don't know, at the Chicago, I don't really, I don't know. I don't really know how welcomed I am in Chicago, to be honest. I'm doing the best that I can with what I've got, and I'm hoping that the right people, places, and things can be placed along my path, and I hope that people will be brave enough. Because the thing is, I know that if I found out someone was going through something hard and scary, I would be like, when I was in child specialist, I try to go to every room, even though you need to prioritize patient and your caseload, but for me, I did my absolute best that I could to try to hit all those touch points with people, and that was in a hospital. But even so, if I encountered people out in the general public, like, I would do my best to try to help them in whatever capacity that I could. So I hope that you would do the same for me and for everyone else that's going through this situation like me, because we do matter. And unfortunately, when you get targeted, people start to they're like, oh, we're so sorry for you, we have sympathy for you. It's like, no, I don't want sympathy, I want empathy. And I want people to fix things, because I want to live a happy, healthy, long, prosperous life. I deserve that, just like everyone else. I deserve a wonderful job. I deserve to have a loving relationship with a wonderful man one day, and hopefully, be a mom, whether that's, with a foster child or adopted child or child born naturally. So, yeah, we shall see. But your thoughts and prayers are appreciated, and I hope my advice helps somebody cope through, gang stalking and targeting, and how to navigate the workplace. And remember, no one can make you feel inferior without their consent. Eleanor Roosevelt said that. God bless.